The desire for more positive experiences is itself a negative experience, and the acceptance of negative experiences is itself a positive experience. That single backwards law is the entire foundation of Mark Manson's The Subtle Art. He shows that chasing constant happiness, success, and perfection is exactly what keeps you miserable. Real freedom comes from choosing better problems to struggle with, accepting that life will always contain pain and failure, and learning to stop giving a damn about the things that don't actually matter. This isn't fluffy motivation. It's the raw, counterintuitive truth that turns your pain into power and your everyday problems into something meaningful. We're breaking down the complete audiobook right now. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. Don't try. The secret to a better life isn't trying harder or chasing constant happiness. It starts with the poet Charles Bukowski, who spent decades as a drunk, gambler, and total failure, rejected by every publisher, stuck in a dead-end job, waking up on the floor after nights of excess. At 50, he finally got one chance, wrote a novel in 3 weeks, sold millions of copies, and became famous. Yet his tombstone reads only 2 words: don't try. That story reveals the core truth. Real success and peace come not from forcing yourself to be special or extraordinary, but from accepting who you are, including the worst parts, and staying brutally honest about it. Our culture pushes the opposite message: be happier, richer, more admired, more perfect. Every positive self-help idea keeps reminding you of what you lack, which only makes you feel worse. This creates a dangerous spiral called the feedback loop from hell. You feel anxious, then anxious about feeling anxious. You feel bad, then guilty or angry about feeling bad. The loop feeds itself until you're exhausted and still miserable. The way out is the backwards law. The desire for more positive experiences is itself a negative experience. Accepting negative experiences, pain, failure, rejection, being ordinary, is itself a positive one. The more desperately you chase happiness, the less satisfied you become. The more you accept life's downsides, the freer and calmer you feel. Not giving a damn doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means becoming comfortable with being different. You stop caring about things that don't truly matter so you can care deeply about the few things that do. You must care about something. The only real question is what you choose to care about. As we grow older and wiser, we naturally become more selective. We waste less energy on trivial annoyances, other people's opinions, small setbacks, superficial details, and save our limited energy for family, purpose, real problems worth solving. That simplification is what finally brings lasting peace. Pain and struggle are woven into life. Trying to avoid them only creates more suffering. Everything worthwhile, growth, trust, health, meaningful relationships requires willingly facing the negative side first. You have only a limited number of damns to give before you die. Spend them wisely on what actually matters and stop trying to escape reality. Accept it, choose your struggles, and everything else begins to fall into place. Chapter 2. Happiness is a problem. A king once tried to give his son a perfect life by shielding him from all suffering inside palace walls filled with luxury and servants. The prince grew up miserable anyway. When he finally escaped and saw sickness, old age, poverty, and death for the first time, he was horrified. He tried extreme self-denial and suffering on the streets, but that brought no answers either. After years of searching, he sat under a tree for 49 days and realized the simple truth: life itself is suffering. The rich suffer from their riches, the poor from their poverty. People with families suffer because of them, and people without families suffer from loneliness. No one escapes it. Happiness is not a problem you solve once and for all, like a math equation or a promotion. The idea that if I achieve this, then I'll be happy is the real trap. Dissatisfaction and unease are built into being human. They drive us to grow, change, and survive. Pain, both physical and emotional, is your body's most useful signal. It tells you when something is out of balance and pushes you to act. Stub your toe, and you learn to watch where you step, get rejected, and you learn what not to repeat. Suffering isn't the enemy, avoiding it is. Problems never disappear, they only get exchanged for better ones. Solve your health issue by joining a gym, and you create new problems like waking up early and sticking to a routine. Fix your relationship with weekly date nights, and you now have to plan them, afford them, and keep the spark alive. Happiness comes from solving problems you actually enjoy having and enjoy working on. If you deny your problems exist or blame everyone else for them, you stay stuck. Both denial and victim mentality feel good in the moment, but lead to a life of insecurity, anger, and helplessness. Emotions are just biological feedback, not commands. Negative ones are calls to action. Positive ones are rewards for getting it right, but they never last, and trusting them blindly is dangerous. What feels good today will feel ordinary tomorrow. That's the hedonic treadmill. We adapt, then chase the next thing, always ending up back at not enough. Everything worthwhile in life comes with an equal downside. The relationship that brings joy also brings fights. The dream job also brings stress. What creates your good experiences will also create your bad ones. The real question isn't what do you want out of life? Everyone wants happiness, love, and success. The far more powerful question is, what pain do you want? What struggle are you willing to endure? Because happiness requires struggle. It grows from problems you choose on purpose. Pick the right ones. Accept the discomfort that comes with them, and you stop running from life and start living it. Chapter 3. You are not special. Real problems feel unsolvable when you're young and everything falls apart at once. One day you're a rebellious kid hiding marijuana in a secret compartment in your backpack. The next, you're expelled, homeschooled, stripped of your friends and freedom, and watching your parents quietly divorce without ever raising their voices. In that moment, the pain convinces you that your suffering is unique, that no one else could possibly understand it. So you start acting as if the normal rules don't apply to you. You become entitled. Entitlement shows up in two flavors that look different but taste the same. I'm awesome and the rest of you suck, so I deserve special treatment. Or, I suck and the rest of you are awesome, so I deserve special treatment. Both versions convince you that your pain is exceptional, which lets you justify selfishness, drama, and constant validation seeking. The deeper the pain, the stronger the entitlement grows to protect you from it. The truth is simple and surprisingly freeing. There is no such thing as a personal problem. Whatever you're struggling with, millions of people have struggled with it before, are struggling right now, or will struggle with it tomorrow. Realizing you are not special, your pain is not uniquely terrible, is often the first and most important step toward actually fixing it. Today's world makes this realization harder than ever. Social media and constant information overload flood us with the most extreme stories, the richest, the funniest, the most beautiful, the most tragic. We see only the 99.999 percentile, so ordinary life starts to feel like failure. Being average now feels like the worst possible outcome. Everyone is told they are destined for greatness, that they deserve to be extraordinary. But if everyone is extraordinary, then by definition no one is. This message tastes sweet, but leaves people insecure, entitled, and addicted to proving they're different. Most of us are average at most things. That's not a flaw. It's statistics. True excellence in any area requires massive time and energy, which means almost no one can be exceptional at many things. The rare people who do become great don't start by believing they're already special. They become great precisely because they accept they are mediocre and obsess over getting better. That acceptance is the opposite of entitlement. Once you stop demanding that your life be extraordinary, something beautiful happens. The constant pressure lifts. The anxiety of always needing to prove yourself disappears. You become free to enjoy the ordinary things that actually matter. Real friendships, creating something useful, helping someone who needs it, reading a good book, laughing with people you care about. These experiences are simple, even boring, and that's exactly why they're valuable. Life is mostly average. Most days are unremarkable. Most of your actions won't change the world. Accepting that truth doesn't make your life meaningless. It finally lets you live it without the exhausting weight of pretending you're special. Chapter 4. The value of suffering. Suffering is inevitable, but its meaning is not. A Japanese soldier named Hiroo Onoda continued fighting World War II for nearly 30 years after it had ended, surviving on insects and rodents in the jungle while attacking locals and believing his loyalty to a long-defeated empire still mattered. His suffering felt purposeful, even honorable, and therefore bearable. When he finally returned home and realized his war had been pointless, the same experiences that once gave his life direction now crushed him with emptiness. Suffering without purpose becomes unbearable. Suffering with purpose becomes something you can endure or even choose. Self-awareness works like an onion with 3 layers. The first is simply recognizing your emotions. The second is asking why you feel them and uncovering the root causes. The deepest and most important layer is examining your personal values. Why you define success or failure the way you do. Your values decide what problems you create for yourself and whether those problems are worth solving. Poor values produce unsolvable problems that poison your life. Strong values turn everyday struggles into sources of growth. 2 musicians illustrate how values shape everything. Dave Mustaine was kicked out of Metallica just before they became legends. He formed Megadeth, sold millions of records, and achieved massive success. Yet he still felt like a failure for decades because he measured himself against Metallica's fame. Pete Best was fired from the Beatles right before Beatlemania exploded. He spiraled into depression, but later reprioritized his life around family, stability, and simple joys. He ended up happier than he ever would have been as a Beatle. The same painful event produced opposite outcomes because one man clung to a toxic metric while the other chose healthier ones. Certain values consistently create terrible, unsolvable problems. Chasing constant pleasure leads to addiction and emptiness. Measuring self-worth by money or possessions stops working once basic needs are met and often turns people shallow. Needing to be right all the time blocks learning and empathy. Forcing constant positivity denies real problems and prevents solving them. These values feel good in the moment, but leave you anxious, unstable, and stuck. Good values are reality-based, socially constructive, and fully within your control right now. Things like honesty, curiosity, humility, creativity, and standing up for yourself and others. Bad values rely on external events, superstition, or harming others. Things like popularity, dominance, or endless material gain. When you adopt better values, you stop wasting energy on trivial or destructive problems and start tackling meaningful ones instead. Pleasure, success, and satisfaction then appear naturally as side effects rather than the goal. The quality of your life depends on the quality of your problems. Choose better values, and you choose better problems. That single shift turns suffering from something to avoid into the very path to a richer, more purposeful life. Chapter 5. You are always choosing. Everything that happens in your life is the result of a choice you made, either an active decision or the passive decision to do nothing. Even when life feels completely out of control, you still choose how you respond, whether to accept it, fight it, numb it, or learn from it. This simple fact is both terrifying and incredibly liberating. Most people mix up responsibility with fault. They think taking responsibility means admitting they caused the bad thing. That's wrong. Responsibility is simply the willingness to deal with the consequences and do something about them, even when the situation wasn't your fault. You didn't choose to be born with certain genes, to grow up in a difficult family, or to face random tragedy, but you always choose what you do next. Blaming outside forces keeps you powerless. Accepting responsibility gives you power. A powerful example is a woman whose son was murdered. Instead of spending her life in bitterness and rage, she chose to turn her pain into action. She started a support group for other grieving parents and devoted years to helping people through the exact suffering she had endured. The tragedy was not her fault, yet she took full responsibility for what she would make of it. That choice transformed her suffering into meaning. your genetics, your past, your circumstances. These are the cards you were dealt. You cannot change the hand, but you always choose how to play it. Some people with terrible childhoods grow up kind and resilient. Others with every advantage become bitter and entitled. The difference isn't the hand, it's the choice of response. Modern culture has turned victimhood into something fashionable, victimhood chic. People compete to prove who has suffered the most, as if that suffering grants them special status or excuses bad behavior. This mindset feels comforting in the short term, but traps you forever. It teaches you to see yourself as powerless and the world as unfair, so you stop trying. True maturity is the opposite. You acknowledge the pain, accept what you cannot control, and focus all your energy on what you can. There is no magical how to change your life. There is only the decision to do it. You don't need another technique, another book, or another guru. You simply decide what matters to you, accept the pain that comes with it, and start acting. Every single day, you are choosing who you will become, whether you admit it or not. Once you truly understand this, excuses disappear and real freedom begins. Chapter 6. You're wrong about everything, but so am I. We don't actually know what counts as a truly positive or negative experience. The most painful moments in life often turn out to be the most motivating and formative, while the best ones can leave us distracted and empty. Our brains are wired as meaning-making machines. They invent patterns and stories from random events, then cling to them fiercely even when evidence proves them false. Memories are especially unreliable. They get rewritten over and over to fit whatever we currently believe, sometimes creating completely fabricated events that feel 100% real. This is why you must be extremely careful what you believe. One woman spent years convinced her father had abused her as a child. She confronted him, split her family apart, and lived with the trauma, only to discover years later that the entire memory had been invented during therapy, shaped by her own unhappiness, failed relationships, and the cultural climate of the time. Hundreds of similar false accusations happened in the same era. Our minds will invent entire realities just to keep our existing values and self-image consistent. Pure certainty is dangerous. It breeds arrogance, cruelty, and stagnation. People who feel absolutely right about their beliefs are the ones capable of the worst harm because they never question themselves. Racists, fanatics, and abusers all operate from unshakable certainty that they are the good guys. The pursuit of certainty actually creates more insecurity. The harder you chase it, the more uncertain and threatened you feel. Manson's law of avoidance captures the core problem. The more something threatens your identity, the more you will avoid it. Success can scare you as much as failure because both force you to update who you think you are. You avoid writing the book, having the honest conversation, or quitting the dead-end job because those actions would challenge the comfortable story you tell yourself about who you are. The cure is to kill yourself, metaphorically. Let go of the rigid identity you've built. Stop believing you're uniquely special, extraordinarily talented, or uniquely victimized. Redefine yourself in the simplest, most ordinary terms: a student, a partner, a friend, a creator. The narrower and more grandiose your identity, the more everything in life will feel like a threat. The practical way forward is to practice uncertainty every single day. Ask yourself 3 questions regularly. What if I'm wrong? What would it mean if I were wrong? Would being wrong create a better or worse problem than the one I have now, for me and for others? These questions force humility, crack open your certainty, and let you grow. Real change only happens once you admit you've been wrong about a lot of things. The moment you embrace being wrong, everything else starts to improve. Chapter 7. Failure is the way forward. Success is built on failure. The more you fail, the better you become, if you're willing to keep going. Picasso once doodled on a napkin in a cafe. A woman offered to buy it. He charged her $20,000. When she protested that it took him only 2 minutes, he replied, "No, it took me over 60 years. Every great achievement is the result of thousands of tiny failures that most people never see. The paradox is simple. The more you're willing to fail, the more you're able to succeed. Children learning to walk fall hundreds of times without ever thinking, I guess walking isn't for me. Yet somewhere along the way, we learn to fear failure. We're taught that failure is bad, that it means we're not good enough. This fear comes from shitty values, measuring ourselves by things outside our control like money, popularity, or being liked by everyone. When failure is defined by other people's opinions, we become paralyzed. Good values flip this completely. They are process-oriented, honest expression, improving relationships, creating something real. These values never end. There is always more to improve, which means failure is no longer a threat. It's simply part of the path. Real success only happens at the things you're willing to fail at repeatedly. Pain is part of the process. The most profound growth almost always comes after the worst experiences. Survivors of war, cancer, or deep personal crises often say the same thing. The suffering made them stronger, more grateful, more resilient. Emotional pain is the signal that your old values are cracking and new, better ones are trying to form. You don't grow by avoiding pain. You grow by feeling it fully and using it to change. Most people numb the pain instead of learning from it. They chase distractions, substances, or delusional positivity to feel good again. That only delays the necessary transformation. The moment you stop running from the pain and start weathering the shitstorm, real change begins. The practical tool for all of this is the do something principle. Motivation doesn't come first, action does. Most of us wait to feel inspired before we act. That's backwards. Action creates inspiration, which creates motivation, which creates more action. When you don't know what to do anything. Write one terrible sentence. Make one awkward phone call. Design one ugly header. The simple act of doing something breaks the paralysis and starts the momentum. Failure stops feeling scary once your only requirement for success is that you showed up and tried. You don't need to know the whole path. You never will. Life is about not knowing and doing something anyway. The more you embrace failure as the necessary step forward, the faster you move, the freer you feel, and the more meaningful your life becomes. Chapter 8. The importance of saying no. Every time you say yes to something unimportant, you are automatically saying no to something that actually matters. Most people are so afraid of rejection or disappointing others that they say yes to everything. Extra projects at work, social events they don't want to attend, relationships that drain them until their life becomes overcrowded with obligations and resentment. Rejection is not the end of the world. It is one of the best things that can happen to you. Getting rejected forces you to become crystal clear about what you truly value. The people who achieve the most in life are usually the ones who have been rejected the most because they learn to say no constantly so they could give a powerful yes to the few things that really counted. Boundaries are essential for a good life. Without them, other people will keep taking your time, energy, and attention until you have nothing left. Saying no is not rude or selfish. It is an act of self-respect and honesty. When you clearly communicate what you will and will not accept, you actually build stronger relationships because people know exactly where they stand with you. Trust is built through honest vulnerability, and honest vulnerability requires the ability to say no. Pretending everything is fine when it isn't destroys trust faster than anything else. When you can look someone in the eye and say, "This doesn't work for me," or "I need something different," you create real intimacy and safety. The greatest freedom comes from commitment, not from keeping every option open. The more you commit to one person, one goal, or one set of values, the freer you actually become. All the other distracting options disappear, and you stop wasting mental energy on endless choices and second-guessing. True freedom isn't having a million possibilities. It's having the right ones and confidently closing the rest. Life becomes lighter and more meaningful when you get comfortable saying no. No to things that don't align with your values. No to people who treat you poorly. No to distractions that pull you away from what matters. The right no's create space for the right yeses, and that is when your life finally stops feeling scattered and starts feeling full. Chapter 9. and then you die. The most transformative moment in one man's life came at 19 when his friend Josh died in a drunken cliff jump at a party. The body was pulled from the lake hours later. Grief hit like a physical blow, deep, meaningless sadness that made everything feel pointless. Yet out of that darkness came a startling realization. If death makes everything ultimately meaningless, then there is also no reason to fear embarrassment, failure, shame, or pain. Why hold back from living when it all ends anyway? That single insight ended years of laziness, insecurity, and avoidance. He quit weed and video games, dropped out of music school, started college, hit the gym, made real friends, and began chasing growth for the first time. Someone else's death gave him permission to finally live. Death terrifies us, so we avoid thinking or talking about it. But death is the light that gives all of life its meaning. Without the certainty of death, nothing would matter. Every experience, every value, every ambition would feel empty. Death forces the only question that truly counts. What is your legacy? How will the world be different and better because you were here? Ernest Becker explained this in his Pulitzer-winning book, The Denial of Death. Humans are the only animals aware of their own mortality, which creates a deep death terror underneath everything we do. To cope, we build immortality projects. Our values, families, careers, art, fame, or causes, hoping some part of our identity will live on after our bodies are gone. All of human civilization is just a collection of these projects. Wars and oppression often happen when one group's immortality project clashes with another's. But when those projects fail or feel meaningless, the terror returns stronger than ever. The cure is not to fight death or chase bigger immortality projects. The cure is to accept death completely. Once you stop pretending you can live forever, you become free to choose values that are simple, immediate, and actually within your control. Values that serve something bigger than yourself. This acceptance strips away entitlement and superficial pursuits. It makes pain, rejection, and failure lighter because none of them can touch the one truth you now own. You are going to die, and that's why your life matters right now. Standing on the edge of a cliff at South Africa's Cape of Good Hope, inches from a deadly drop, the author felt it directly. The wind, the vast ocean, the sheer terror confronting mortality in that moment brought euphoria, total presence, and a strange peace. Nothing makes you more alive than willingly facing the end. The Stoics, Buddhists, and thinkers throughout history all pointed to the same thing. Keep death in mind so you stop wasting life on trivial nonsense. Entitlement pulls us inward, convincing us we deserve greatness without sacrifice. Accepting death does the opposite. It turns your attention outward. You realize you are already great, not because of achievements or attention, but because, in the face of certain death, you still choose what to care about. That choice alone makes you beautiful, successful, and loved. Bukowski wrote that we're all going to die, and that alone should make us love each other. Most of us forget this and get flattened by life's small things. Remembering it changes everything. The more you stare into the darkness, the brighter life becomes. The quieter the noise gets, and the less anything can hold you back. Death is not the end of meaning. It is the beginning.